hello, beautiful people. Welcome to KLENS. This is an online learning series where we're going to talk about learning, engaging, networking, and synergizing. So we're going to be getting perspectives of different people, which is why we're calling this the KLENS, right? And today I have with me my friend with whom I studied yoga, and her name is Caro. So I'm just going to let her introduce herself, and we'll start with it that way.
Namaste everyone. So I'm Carolyn and I work as a yoga instructor. So I've been teaching for a couple of years now. And for the past 1 year, I've been focusing on training teachers on teaching methodology and different teaching styles. And now I've moved on to a slightly different role where I'm working on how bringing together artificial intelligence, machine learning, as well as yoga. And apart from that, I also do some fitness modeling. I work as a wellness writer on a few projects. Yeah, so that's me.
Really nice. So thank you so much, Caro, for introducing yourself. I see Caro in the Cult Fit app, and then I see her all over Instagram, and she's always talking about yoga, and that's something that I really connect with her. The way she talks about it with so much passion, it's just something I really admire, and I totally love that about her. Right? Anytime you want to talk about yoga, she's all up with it.
Thanks.
Welcome.
You've been an inspiration, and I'm so happy to be speaking to you today.
Likewise. So, really happy to have you on KLENS. You're our first speaker, so this is again, super special to us. So we're really happy to be talking about this. So, I just wanted to understand a little bit more about you, right? In terms of why this path, and how did you essentially start off on this? And fairly young, that too, right? So a little bit about your journey, and if you could just take us through a little bit about that, that would be nice.
So, to be honest, this was never on the cards when I started yoga in school. So, in school, yoga was compulsory for us from 6th grade, and I didn't enjoy it at all at that point in time. And so I never thought I would be doing this, because even in college, some of my friends, so we had a certification course that, some of us could take up in college, and yoga was one of the options. But I still thought, some of my friends took up yoga back then. I was wondering, why would anyone do that? And then slowly, so I've done a lot of different things to reach here. I haven't, directly come to yoga after school or been introduced to yoga and started liking yoga at a young age. It happened very late for me in terms of, I spent some time in my corporate career. Then I moved to something different. I was doing food writing for some time. And then I realized that a lot of my life, it was just happening. Like I wasn't really in there in whatever I was doing. So that's when I had a small injury in college. I used to play a lot of badminton. So I got I couldn't move for some time. So then that's when I started yoga slowly. And then I realized that not just the physical aspect of it, but it kept me very present. So it made me realize that, okay, this is what I'm doing now. This is what, otherwise my whole life was, I would say, on autopilot. I would just wake up, do this, go to work, come back. So then I realized that it gave me more meaning, and it gave me more time to understand more about myself. And that's when I realized that, okay, this is what I wanted to study more about. Again, teaching was never something I thought of initially. I just wanted to study more about this because I was very intrigued as to how this was happening. And that's when I went on to learn more. Then I did the TTC, and then after that, spent some time teaching, then went back and did the ATTC program. And I've also learned with a lot of different teachers here in Bangalore and outside. So they really helped me understand a lot of things, which I could never put together. So that's how, understanding life, building that connect on things around me. That's how yoga happened, and that's how it's been going on.
Yeah, that's I think very important, right? because this whole aspect of us turning to path of yoga when injury happens, or because somebody wants to become a yoga teacher and then go there to like formally study and happen, for things to fall in place like that, I guess is something that pushes us to think deeper, right? Because I know in my own journey, um, it's been the same approach, right? It's just been to learn and to understand deeper, and then it takes you in a very different direction at all, right? Because you're not really looking at um, what are you doing every day, why you're doing it. So I think it definitely gives in a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that injury and all of that probably helped in that way to become a little bit more mindful, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that something has to happen for us to be able to really understand or try to understand some things, but I'm glad it did. Looking back, I'm sure you'll agree as well. A lot has happened, even though initially you'd wonder why, but then after that you realize that everything just happens for a reason.
Totally. I mean, totally. I completely like resonate with that, right? Just wanted to ask you here, right? So you talked about learning from different teachers here. So in Bangalore as well, and apart from otherwise also learning from different teachers. So how is it that learning with different teachers has helped you in terms of your own expanding your own understanding of this particular path? Because they say if you learn from too many teachers, then your perspective of things is getting diverted, right? So how have you been able to integrate that into your own life?
So I do learn, I do spend time with different teachers, but what I take from them is what I choose to take from them. So, like you said, it might be contradictory at times if you listen to many different people. But for me, I found that there's something in it that I can learn. There's some takeaway for me every time I meet a new person. And that can also be very new teachers in terms of from the perspective of asana, because I've spent a lot of time teaching very new graduates who've just finished TTC and they want to start teaching. So I've spent a lot of time with them. And every class that I spend with them, even though I've been teaching for many years, I still learn something new. And whenever I get a chance, I always go to any teacher's class just to see and imbibe what I think would help me or would help my teaching. So that so we can spend time with different people, but I think we choose as to what we want to take. So that way, that's what's helped me in terms of learning from different teachers. And generally, what I've done is I've learned different things, not the same thing. So like different styles or different philosophies. So they all come from very different perspectives, and I try to integrate it for myself, and that also keeps changing. So something that's right today might be very different for me tomorrow. So that's what I try to do. I always spend some time learning, because I don't think if I just go on like this, it'll be very stagnant in terms of what I have to offer. So I spend time learning, attending different workshops, practicing with other people, and that gives me a lot of joy as well.
That's awesome. I mean, I think it's really important to learn and take what resonates more with you, rather than to just stay in one perspective and to just stick to that one thing that this is right and
Yeah.
everything else is wrong. Of course, different teachers come from different perspectives and thought processes, but there will be something, as you said, right? There is something to learn from each of these perspectives. So yeah, I mean, that's really nice to know. And so what exactly do you mean by yoga, right? I'd like to know about that. Like, what do you mean by yoga, and how do you define it? Like right now in this situation you're in, right now, right in life.
So for me, it's a process of, I would say, discovery, exploration. I really can't put it in words, but it just makes me, a little more me, if that makes sense. So
Right.
that's what I think I'm using this practice for currently. I know that might not be the aim of the practice, but currently for me, this is it, just to understand me.
So, and by this you mean the practice of the physical yoga, which is what world understands yoga by? or
No, everything. I don't believe we can just do one thing. So even when I teach classes, I believe that people will slowly want to do more. So I do a lot of different things. I have my sadhana. I do a different asana practice. Sometimes I don't do asana. I just do some movement practice. So it's different on different days. But for me, everything is yoga. Even me talking to you, there is a certain aspect of yoga in terms of sangha and everything. So yeah.
nice. That's a really nice way of looking at it, right? Everything you do is yoga. Then, I mean, you don't have to just, look at what you're doing on the mat as yoga, or it's everything. That's an awesome way to look at it. Awesome. So let's just move on a little bit from here, right? So the most important thing of why we're doing this whole KLENS is for us to understand and to learn from industry experts, leaders like yourself, who've explored this path, who are still exploring, are open to learning, right? Basically, we're trying to understand from them what are the ways in which you think youth can be more conscious and responsible. Because in Karunachal, that is the only question we're attempting to answer as an organization. We just want to know, in your perspective, two ways youth can be more conscious and responsible, what you understand by these terms, what it means to you, and of course what it means for youth who are confused in life or otherwise too.
So in terms of youth, I think we are the ones who really can make a change as of now. So in terms of being responsible, I think if we really spend some time understanding our place and not think of ourselves as like we own everything, I think that's when we will start becoming a little more responsible, not just for ourselves. So I've seen a very selfish approach where we're just responsible for our actions and everything that we do. But if we see everything around us and look at it in terms of we are really responsible for that, I think that's when change will really happen. It can be anything and everybody sees it differently, and it can be a very small change. It doesn't have to be all at once you realize that everything is me and I have to see this a different way. But I think small changes that we can make every day is something that will definitely help. And I think at first we should also believe in ourselves and say that yes, we have the power to make that change. Sometimes if we're doing something small, we think that, oh, how will that make a difference? But I think that's very important when we understand our potential, firstly. And in terms of being conscious, again, it comes from the same place. If you understand how everything around is really something you should be responsible for as an individual, that's when I think we learn to be a little more conscious. And for me, I can tell you that was very difficult initially because I've been like a hoarder and I've been I have a very consumer mindset. And before this also, when I was working as a food writer, I would spend a lot of time going to different places, and there also the kind of culture is also something like that. So I think it's been a slow change, but when I realized that yes, even if I'm doing something, it is making a change, that's when I could really imbibe that change and do it and sustain it rather.
Hmm.
So that understanding is something I think everybody should try to imbibe as well as propagate.
So how do you think that this happened for you in your own life, right? This understanding of the shift, as you said, right, from when you were a food writer to right now. I'm pretty sure your approach has changed in terms of being more responsible or conscious. So do you remember any incidents or any times where there was a click and then you were like, okay, this is how I'm going to uh, start changing, or was it a very gradual, slow process?
It was a very gradual process. So I wouldn't call it like a eureka moment and say, okay, this happened at this point in time. It happened very slowly when I think the first time I went for TTC is when I realized like the kind of lifestyle you would relate to this, the kind of lifestyle, it was very different from what I was doing here. So then I realized that I don't really need much. This is all I need. So that happened gradually, and then I came back, and then slowly it happened, like, okay, I realized, okay, this is not something, this is leading to this, or where is this coming from? So I feel like I started asking myself some questions which really opened things up, and then I realized that, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is maybe something I don't really need at this point in time.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that part of, immersing ourselves in a certain place with a certain different atmosphere which we're not used to or exposed to, I think definitely changes the way we view life and the way we, look at everything, right? Because I know for a fact that before I came to the ashram, similarly, right, before teacher training course, I was like, yeah, okay, I mean, how hard can it be, like whatever, right? But when you go there, live there for a month, you really, come out as a changed person. One of my friends from TTC, I think ATTC, he was telling Arvind, Arvind, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He was telling me that TTC was not teacher training course, but it was what? Total transformation course for him.
Completely agree.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. Ashram memories are really fond.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, during your this whole journey, right? I'm just trying to understand if you, could talk about your biggest life lessons. You could look at them as failures, or you could look at them as life lessons, right? What would that have to be in your own journey of this, exploring yourself and understanding yourself better? What would those be?
Life lessons. Well, every day is a new lesson for me, but something, you can hear the pressure cooker. So, in terms of specific lessons, I think there's small things that people have introduced to me early on, but I think it's grown over time. So one is definitely, like I said earlier, about learning from everybody or learning something. I think that also comes from a place of respect. When you respect the other person or find value in what they do, what they say, I think that's when learning happens. Secondly, this is what, in terms of my family, they've always taught me to challenge myself. And I feel like any challenge or something that comes our way, it's something that we can handle. So the universe only gives us things. That's something I really believe in, something that we can handle. So that's something I believe in. So that's also helped me when I feel like, okay, I really can't do anything in this situation. Then I realize that no, it just doesn't happen. Everything happens because we will find a way to come out of it. So that's really helped me in terms of even the smallest challenges and anything big that has come my way. And apart from that, I think spending some time in introspection, journaling. If we don't really understand what we do, it's difficult, to live in this world where I feel like now also a lot of people are trying to be someone else. So I feel like that time spent with ourselves is important. So in terms of, you could call it stillness, mindfulness, meditation, different terms, but at the end of the day, just understanding this person or this body, soul, mind, whatever you call it. So yeah, that would be a big learning for me.
Okay. I mean, these are very important pointers, right? Our families really do play a huge role in terms of shaping our mindsets, and definitely practices, right? Like journaling, like meditation for people is different. It doesn't have to just be sitting cross-legged and with your eyes closed, right? Writing could be meditation, dancing could be meditation, sports
Sure.
could be meditation for different people. I think the way it is viewed has to, I mean, it depends on the person who's viewing this, right?
Yeah.
So
Very
yeah.
good.
And do you look at anything in your life as failures? Do you look at incidents in life as your failures? Any incident?
A lot of things have not happened. So earlier I was very stubborn. I had to have things happen my way. So there were a lot of things that now when I look at it seems very small, but there were a lot of things at that point in time. It was a big thing. So, but now I've realized, but that they're not really failures. They're just learnings or challenges that I've learned to overcome. So a lot of things have happened for sure, but it's just my understanding of it has changed quite a bit from when it happened.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's always like that, right? When it's going on, you're just like, oh my God, what is this? But
Yeah.
then later on, you're like, okay, fine. I mean, I can handle it. So that part you were talking about, being prepared to handle the situations, only
Yeah.
those things come into your life. I think that's absolutely very true, right? If you can look at life in that perspective, whatever is happening, you'll never want it to be any other way because you know that you're prepared to handle it.
Yeah.
So
True.
I think that's it also instills a lot of self confidence in you that
Very
only
true.
because I can handle this is why it's happening. So I can, right? It
Yeah.
acts the way, I guess.
Yeah. Even though it's something maybe considered, I don't know if I can use the word not positive, but we see it in a different sense. So I think that way it really helps.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing thing you brought about. And I mean, I'm sure you wanted to give up and not do yoga or do certain things which other people uh, you know think that you should be doing, right? On how did you continue on your path, and how did you uh, you know take it up? Because this path of what you're doing is not very conventional, right? People don't really make careers out of paths like this. So what kept you going, essentially?
So I would say it had a lot to do with the people I met and how they, I would say, influenced my life at that point in time, and just my interactions with them, and how it was a different energy altogether. So that's when I realized that okay, if something is drawing me there, and this is what I'm really meant to do. So that's how it happened actually. But yes, there were a lot of obstacles in terms of, you know, everybody around saying, you could have done something different or studied something different, because I'm doing something very different from what I wanted to do earlier, at least. So there was a lot of that. But I also believe that if you say okay, this is what I really want to do, or if you believe in yourself, then people will fall in place. At first there will be some resistance because they'd wonder if you're doing the right thing, but I think what's very important is that belief that okay, this is it. And if you stand so strong and say this is exactly what I want to do, when they see you do that, I feel like people will, it might take some time for a few, but people will just start to understand and really align with what you believe in. So that's something that has worked for me. Definitely a lot of obstacles initially, but now I would say that everybody who said no or said, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, they're really happy. So
Right. I guess people who say also most times don't do this or, stop you or whatever, come from a space of care. It's
yeah,
not that they want to stop you, right?
true.
And as while we're growing up, we don't take that in that way. We always look at it as, oh, this person doesn't want me to do this, or, we don't take it in the right way. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely there. So, what kept you going, right? Like, of course, you talked about your own conviction in your own self, but has it ever happened that you've questioned this whole conviction that why does this matter so much to me, or am I really this person, or what am I really trying to do with life? Have you ever asked yourself those questions?
With teaching, not really, because when I started off itself, I had a small group of students, and just seeing them change, and seeing how they changed me as well. Because some days I would travel. So the studio that I was teaching at first was very far, so I had to wake up super early in the morning and go there. And some days I just didn't feel like doing it. We all say, if you're if you love what you do, you don't work a single. I don't know the exact quote, but something like that. But that some of those days were terrible. But once I reached there and started a class, or just feeling that energy in the class or the studio, made me feel very different. So I would say that they have also helped me, because it is an energy exchange at the end of the day. So that is what really kept me going. And then after that, again, meeting with people and interacting with them, understanding why this is important for me. So that really kept me going. I don't think I've really stopped and said, I should be doing something else once it started. A lot of times this has happened with all the new students. They're very excited to start teaching. So that interaction also kept me going. So there's always something that told me, gave me those pointers saying, okay, this is it. So that's what kept me going, and that's what still keeps me going, I would say.
I think I really, really, resonate with this, right? When you say that, earlier you used to question whether I'm doing the right thing or not. Same thing has happened to me, right? In my corporate jobs or in before the kind of things that I was doing. Constantly been asking, okay, is this what it is? Because there's always that doubt whether, I'm really happy, or am I really enjoying what I'm doing? But ever since I've gotten onto this path, I never either imagined I would be teaching yoga, right? Or, I would be doing this for a living. So I never thought that, this is going to happen. But right now, despite the apparent hardships which, the world sees, I see myself very content and really wanting to get up and, do things again, right? Because you do see it adding value to your life. It's what makes you happy, right?
And I think that's also what brings the realization that, okay, this is it. This is what it's like. You just keep seeking and finding a plan or trying to do something different. And then when it happens, or when you know that this is your path, or this is what you're meant to be doing, then it just goes in the same way.
Totally. I mean, it completely makes sense, right? Like I have a logic to this, right? So I think that, every one of us, we have a certain path, and every time we deviate from that path, we face a lot of obstacles there, right? And then these obstacles are actually to bring us back to that path,
Yeah.
And when you look at it that way, it's really nice, because looking at all the things that has happened in your life, you wanted so many things to happen, you've tried your best, gone all out to do it, but it has just not worked out, because it's trying to push you onto the path that you have to take. So yeah, I mean, I completely get what you're saying. Okay, awesome. And there's one thing, you're talking about, right? You're saying about how interacting with people has helped you a lot. So how do you meet these people? Who are these people that you interact with and you're, learning from and getting inspired, and who's keeping you motivated to go ahead and continue? Because I think it plays a huge role, right? The people we interact with. So how are you meeting these people?
So, as part of my job, I do meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds, actually. But in terms of interactions, I think sometimes I'm just driven to talk to people. Like, I don't know what it is. There's something about somebody that makes me feel that, okay, I really, connect with this person on some level, even though we've never met or never spoken. So I think that's happened a lot of times, and that's what's taken me to, practice with different people or even speak to people. It's that drive. There's something that pulls me towards them and makes me want to speak to them. So that's how it's happened. I do interact with a lot of people on a daily basis, but there are some people who I really want to know. So that's when that happens, and I approach them or spend some time with them and learn from them in the process.
So do you call this your intuition guiding you, or your gut feeling guiding you? What do you call this? It's just
you could call it. Yeah, I haven't really given it a name, but it's just a feeling that comes when it just happens.
Yeah, that's really nice, because when you talk like this, right? When we talk like this to different people, they're like, okay, like not with respect to interacting with people, but I'm sure this is an aspect you would have seen even when you take major life decisions of yours, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it to people why you're taking such a decision, right?
True.
Because your real logic, you're like, oh, I just feel like it,
Yeah, lead from the heart. Do
Yeah.
you
So
feel that way about people as well? Like when you meet people, or yeah?
definitely, definitely. I mean, I like to call it as, maybe the energies I vibe with.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
True.
I mean, I think it just comes down to that because you just know that you want to know these people better. Or you want to spend more time, and similarly, you also know for people whom you shouldn't, right? Or
Yeah.
you should
For me,
stay
I
away
realize that very late sometimes, but yeah.
from. I mean, earlier I would never really open up this much, right? I would never really interact and get to know people, but that also probably comes from a space of insecurity or fear of being judged. But the moment you start talking and opening up about yourself, right, you realize that everyone's just like you, man. There's not much of a difference, right? Everyone's
True.
similarly having such thoughts or insecurities, worries, or fears, right?
Yeah.
Makes you more relatable to people.
Yeah, I think on some level, everybody is also suffering sometimes. So
Hmm.
I think if we realize that, then it becomes a lot easier. Like you said, that fear of being judged, all of it just disappears slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. So you spoke about thinking from the heart and talking about it. Is that what you call heartfulness? What do you mean by that? Because I've seen you talk about read a little bit of your posts talking about heartfulness, mindfulness. There's not much of a clarity, in terms of what these two terms really mean. Maybe you could just share a little bit about that.
Sure. So I think I came across this. So there is a whole. I told you about the ashram. There's a heartfulness ashram. So I'd been there a couple of years ago to meet Daji, who's a huge proponent of this heartfulness meditation technique. I spent some time there at the ashram to learn what heartfulness was about, the meditation technique. But I think what made me realize how important it is when I came back. So when I came back, and I spent some time, planning out what I want to do, or spend some time in introspection, especially with regard to a lot of different things. So I was looking up some video, doing a course that time, and then I realized that that course was about not where you want to be, or what you want to do, but how you want to feel. So that was beautiful in terms of anything, any decision that you take. How do you want to feel in that situation? So that's what changed me. Or how do you want to be feeling, or what is something that attracts you in the next 2 months? What do you want to be feeling? So that's in terms of when you look at it from an emotional level, I think that's what drove me to this concept. And it's something that I use a lot of in during my day as well, when I look at situations, and instead of judging, thinking too much about it, I think this has helped me. How do I feel in that situation, or how do I want to feel in that situation? That's what's driven me to make certain decisions. So that's where heartfulness comes for me, because most of the time we think a lot, and because there's so much information around, I think we're also influenced by a lot of things. So when we realize that, okay, this is how I want to feel in that situation, I think that's when, at least for me, it's helped me make a better decision on a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, I can completely understand this, right? I never knew this is what heartfulness is, but but rather, I've been doing this unconsciously throughout my life too, right? That how do I want to be feeling 3 years from now, right? And defining those, feelings. Basically, if you're talking about, I want to feel happy, then what is it that I mean by happiness? Because it's so abstract, right? And once you become a little clear on how you want to feel, I think things just align, and you start choosing those on a day to day basis, right? Similarly, if you plan like that, by the end of the day, this is how I want to feel. then throughout the day you're sort of working along those lines. I think this is also sankalpa and stuff like that, what we call in
True.
yoga, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yes, very true. And I think sometimes we just see things from a different perspective because we have that intention or that sankalpa in mind. Okay, this is how I want to be feeling. So even if things don't work out, we try to see the good in that, and then I think the day also works a lot better than we would if we're just thinking, okay, this is what has happened, and thinking about it in a certain way. If we have that intention saying this is how you want to feel, then every situation just transforms itself to align to that specific intention.
Totally. I mean, totally. It's a very nice way of looking at life, rather than saying that routines and this time, this objective, this target. Of course, those are important too, but approaching every day this way, I think, is a very nice approach to
Yeah.
life itself. Totally. So, also, what do you mean by mindfulness then? Because there's so much talk happening about mindfulness again, right? What, according to you, is mindfulness?
So mindfulness for me would just be being in that particular activity or whatever it is that you want to call it. So if you're like now, if I'm sitting and talking to you, I'm just talking to you. I'm not thinking about anything else. If I'm eating or if I'm doing something, so trying to do every activity with your complete awareness is, I think, what mindfulness is for me.
Okay, okay. And have you done anything to like cultivate this as a habit in you, or it's just reminding yourself to be here when you're completely here? Like, how has that been?
Yeah, so I would say it's more of reminding myself, at least initially, and spending time in meditation. Those practices have definitely helped. But overall, it's just been a constant reminder until you don't need a reminder that, okay, like that time also increases. You try to spend some time, then slowly that time spent in doing that also increases. So I also try to choose certain things that I know I would really enjoy, because I think when we do things that we really enjoy, we tend not to think of other things. So
Hmm.
that's something that has helped, and spend some time doing that every day and slowly cultivate it as a habit. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. But say I'll ask you a situation, right? That I personally face at times in life. Say, for example, I have certain things to finish, right, in the day, and there are back-to-back things. Of course, it's something that I enjoy, but then it's a huge lot of things to do, right? And I want to take a quick nap. Okay. Um, but I can't, because I'm thinking about these things. Even if I have like a half an hour or a 45 minutes, I can't, make myself come into that present and then, not think about whatever is there for 45 minutes or so. I mean, have you faced such situations? What do you do in such? I'm pretty sure you would also face something like this, right, in your day-to-day
Yeah,
life.
a lot of times actually. I'm actually, especially when the lockdown started here,
Yeah.
I it's just like suddenly there's too much to do. All the teachers that I've been looking forward to learning from, they've all started online courses, and there's so much to choose from. And I have my regular work. There's and a lot's happening there as well, because we're trying to move everything online, and being at home, wanting to spend time with family. So there was so much that I wanted to do at that point in time. It was actually very difficult. So when it started, I was overwhelmed. For some time, I said, okay, I'm just not doing anything.
Hmm.
That's maybe a bad way of approaching it, but that's how it started off. And then I realized that I had to really prioritize and decide what I wanted to spend time on, and then look at the outcome or what that would give me, or rather how that would make me feel,
Hmm.
given that is done or that particular task is done. So that's how I try to choose what I wanted to do and try to do that well, rather than doing a lot of things, just doing it for the sake of doing it. I try to really choose. I think this is part of the Stoic philosophy. I was reading something on Stoicism. So they talk about how, you choose what you want to do and do it well. So that's a concept that really resonated with me at that point in time, and started deciding as to what I wanted to give my time to, and then what would make me a different person, or how it would change, like how doing something today would make me a better version of myself tomorrow, or give me some knowledge that I could use. So that's how I decided to choose certain things that I wanted to do, and that really helped. So in terms of work, I just try to decide in terms of, I prioritize as to what would make a difference today, if it was done today, and then I choose to do that specific task.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, prioritizing, I think, becomes very, very important, right? Because something that most people also struggle with, because there's so many things to do that you end up not doing anything because you don't know how to prioritize.
True.
So, another thing that I wanted to ask you here, right, along the same lines, how do you think focusing on physical fitness has helped you in this? Because has it taken away time for you, to practice your own stuff? Because even though you're teaching and instructing, you would have to focus on your own physical fitness. Have you ever compromised on that? How has it improved or enhanced your life? Yeah.
So in terms of fitness, I actually do a lot of different things. So as an athlete in school, I used to run a lot. So now I mix. So it's not just asana practice for me. I try to do sometimes I really like dancing. So I do some dance workout of sorts. Sometimes I do some strength training. So these are things that I like to do. But in terms of asana practice, every class that I do, I try to practice it myself, because I feel like I can't teach something that I haven't done myself. So I try to practice it myself, or try to learn new variations of different asanas that I can teach. So I really have to spend time, because otherwise I can't teach a class. That's something I've realized. Like I just can't go and teach. Even if I've spent a lot of time teaching the same class, I still have to do something different and teach it differently every time. So that class planning and trying out different variations myself itself takes some time. Apart from that, it brings me a lot of joy doing the other things. So I don't really have to push myself. It just happens.
Okay. So physical, importance of physical fitness in your life, you would say is a very high thing.
Very, very important, because I feel like I'm not myself if I haven't done something. It just makes me feel a lot better, and my whole day also goes a lot better if I've done something. They say the dopamine rush.
Yeah, it's actually true, right?
Huh?
It's actually true, right? Because when you exercise, you're actually releasing the happy hormones.
Yes.
So I mean, it's been my answer to everything too, right? I have a headache or I'm not feeling good, I'm like, it's fine, I'm not gonna like skip my practice, because I'll feel better after the practice.
Yeah. That's also a very good point. There are a lot of days when I feel like, okay, today I'm just going to take a break or just going to read. And then I realize, no, but this is how I'm going to feel after. And then it just happens automatically.
Yeah, totally. So, in along these lines itself, right? I was just trying to understand, how do you live in harmony with natural laws, right? There are certain natural laws which govern everyone. It's not just like gravity exists for everybody, right? So does the circadian rhythm also exist for everybody. So do you live in harmony with this? Does your practice enable you to live like this? Or how has it helped you? And of course, if you don't do it, how has it again affected you?
So I think we have a lot to learn from nature. Nature has so many lessons. So I think that has helped, just watching things around and seeing how different things just bloom, or different animals move around. That's really helped understand and build that connect. But yeah, a lot of things I realized when I was out of sync, how I was feeling, and then now when I feel like okay, I'm a little more closer to nature, spending more time, then I realized how these laws work. So it's been a lot of experimentation for me, I would say, and that has led me to believe that okay, this is something that works for me, and if I do something the other way, it just might not work. So that's how that learning has been for me. And yeah, I try to, even though both of us, you understand how Bangalore is, but I do try to spend some time, and whenever I can, I take off. Now of course I can't go anywhere, but before I used to travel quite a bit, somewhere close by, but just take off in between work, maybe for a weekend, spend some time outside and come back. So yeah.
Right. Awesome. So this brings me to asking you a little bit more about what are your personal values, right? There are certain values that you would hold as non-negotiables, which are very dear to you, right? So how do you like keep those intact while you are doing so many things? Because you're also a fitness model, you're also a food writer, and you're also teaching yoga, and you're also interacting with people, right? So what are these values that you hold as non-negotiable in your life?
So for me, one of the biggest would be, like I said, respecting and, you know, to some extent trusting the process also. So that's something that I always hold dear to me and say, okay, this is where I want to be. This is, why I'm doing this. So all of that falls into place there. Apart from that, I think certain level of understanding in terms of everything, understanding the connectedness of that situation, that has really helped me with a lot of things. So that's one value I really hold very dear to me in terms of just going out there and exploring and understanding before I want to do something. That could be with anything, it could be with an interaction or with something I decide to take up. And then it's one thing that I think my parents have taught me would be resilience. That's especially now with so much happening. I think that's a very important value that I've imbibed through them.
Okay. Yeah, I think resilience is something which is very important, right? But again, what really resilience is, that's another thing, because most people think that resilience is just going at it. But I'm pretty sure that there is a time when you also step back and you think, and then you approach it again.
Yeah,
Right?
true. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I was one of those earlier when I was just at it. Everything that I did, it was, I had to target, okay, this is my target, this is how much I had to do. I'm a very pitta person, so that it's almost my nature to do that. So every time, whenever I do something, that was how I would approach it. But now I would say a lot of things have changed. So, like you said, that's very good point on stepping back and seeing what could be done, or is that really something that you should push so much.
Yeah, because I really do feel that a lot of us, right, just because we want to keep up what we're saying, or we want to continue it, we put ourselves through extreme amounts of pain just to like get there. And I don't know if it's really important to do that to ourselves, because then you're not taking care of your own self, right?
True. Yeah, very true.
Okay, Caro, just give me a minute. I'm just going to get my charger, okay?
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Great. So let's move on to the next part, where we're going to ask you a few questions. This is my most favorite part.
Okay.
Um, So I'm just going to ask you about 12 questions, okay? And I want you to think off the top of your head and just give me quick answers, right?
I'll try.
Because there's a concept called thin slicing,
Okay.
which Malcolm Gladwell talks about, where he says that you shouldn't really deliberate too much on this, even if you know normally it would take you a lot of time to explain, but basically you just do it in whatever comes on top of your head. You basically just answer that. All right. So the first one is, what are your top three books?
Top three books. Currently, I can only think of something that I'm reading currently. Okay, I would say Autobiography of a Yogi.
Okay.
Then I can't remember names. The Power of the Subconscious Mind,
Okay.
and Eat, Pray, Love, maybe. I don't know why I saw something today and I just thought of it. But that might not be my top three, but for now it's my top three.
Okay. For now itself, that is. All right. So the next one, okay? What are your top three movies or documentaries?
So I used to watch a lot of rom-coms earlier.
Okay.
Now I watch more of, sometimes I try and watch some documentaries now more. I don't watch too much actually now, but of late I watched, is it called A Plastic Ocean? Or I'm sure you must have heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was an eye opener. And I really like this documentary called Given. It's
Okay.
a very cute story on travel and it's very beautifully made. And what else did I watch recently? Yeah, otherwise I don't watch too many. These are the two. Maybe Notebook. Notebook has been my all-time favorite.
Yeah, Notebook's been my all-time favorite too. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to also watch a lot of rom-coms before,
Uh,
but now I just don't watch anything. So yeah, Notebook's just amazing,
yeah, it's too cute.
man. So the next one, okay? If you could give advice for the future, for the future generation, what would your one sentence advice be?
This is something that I've learned because of my teaching and everything. I think that we have to really go deep in whatever we do before we go ahead. So if it is anything, whatever we choose to do, I think that's something that um, has come as a realization to me that, okay, this is something that I really want to imbibe. So I think that's something everybody should take up in whatever they decide to do. It would be my piece of advice. To, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a very good advice, right? Because otherwise we are, looking at this also, this also, this also, and then you're not really getting everything, right? You're not going really deep into a particular thing.
True.
I
Yeah.
think that's some really brilliant advice there. All right. So the next one, okay? So what's your morning ritual like? What's your morning routine?
So mornings, I wake up quite early, and then I do some of these Ayurvedic practices that I've tried to imbibe, the oil pulling, and then I try to have like a certain kashayam in the morning. Then I do my meditation, yoga practice. And yeah, that much is constant. And then after that, just something that I feel like doing. Sometimes I read, sometimes I listen to something. Sometimes I, spend some time talking to family. So that part changes. But the first part is pretty much remain constant.
And that is throughout the week? Do you take a break for this?
No, I don't believe in. So these are not things. So I don't believe in a. I think there's a difference. I think I was just reading about it. So a routine is something, or a habit is something you just do for the sake of doing it. But a ritual is something that you do in complete awareness. So I think these are things that helps me a lot through the day. So that's why I've never really taken a break from. Maybe when I'm traveling, when things are a little different, I do try to, but I can't do everything. That time things change. But most of the time, yes. Most days I'd wake up to do this.
Awesome. I mean, I think the importance of these kind of rituals, you get to know only when you do them every day, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then there's something incomplete in the day. Like,
I think that's when you realize the importance also, when you don't on certain days. I'm sure it's the same for you as well.
yeah, totally. I mean, completely understand. Awesome. So the next one, okay. So what's your bedtime routine like? What time do you normally go to sleep, and what's that routine like? Are there certain things you do before you go to bed?
So don't ask me about my bedtime routine now because it's completely haywire the past 4 days because I've just started this new job. So we work a lot with the US team. So there are a lot of interactions that happens quite late. So my bedtime routine has gone for a toss. No screen time, nothing has worked now because I'm working late till 11. But usually I try to, read something before I sleep or sometimes I also like to journal at night because then it's like okay, whatever I'm thinking about, my thoughts are on paper and I can forget about a lot of things. So that's something I try and do. Other than that, so and now I feel bad talking about a bedtime ritual now. But yeah, maybe I have to work back. The thing is I can't do anything now, so I'm just trying to figure it all out. But this is generally what I do.
Are there certain things that you do, even despite all of these, right? There would still be certain things that you do just before you go to sleep, right? Do you meditate, even now, despite having all of these, because you still have to calm yourself before you go to sleep, right? Because that's one thing people face, that they can't sleep, right? They're
Yeah.
not able to sleep. So
So recently, I was completely against it before, but I've started listening to music. So there are some tracks that I really like. So I listen to some of those tracks. I just put it on a timer and I somehow fall asleep. But otherwise, these past few days, I've also been very tired that I just automatically sleep. That's not how I generally do it. At least earlier when I had more time, but now it's become pretty much like that. But yeah, earlier I used to do a meditation. Sometimes listen to some discourses, or generally I used to read in the evenings because it helps me with some fresh perspective before I sleep, and I feel like it's also something to think about.
right.
Just before I sleep, I think about something different. And then if it's something that I really want to, you know, imbibe, then the next day I try to learn from those or whatever I've read the previous day. So that really helps.
Awesome. I think that's something that's really interesting, and something that everyone should do, right? I think uh, a few hours journaling, a few hours before you go to bed, journaling, putting everything out, and at the same time also reading something that you probably want to reflect on. I think stays in the subconscious when you go to sleep, right?
Yeah,
There are patterns and connections that's happening while you're sleeping. So I think for sure, that thing would definitely uh, be very, very nice. All
yeah.
right. So the next one, yeah. So who's one inspirational figure in your life?
Inspirational figure for me would be my dad. Actually, my parents. Both
Okay.
of them have been my biggest inspiration. So my dad, he's actually a marathon runner. So
Mm-hmm.
the way he approaches every situation, the way his approach to life is, it's just something that I'm enamored by every day, I would say. And so both of them are very different. So my dad is very okay, this is how it should be. My mom is very carefree. So I think a mix of both of them is what keeps me going every day, and I'm very inspired by just watching both of them.
Awesome. I think parents are some of the nicest inspirational figures there is.
True,
So,
very true.
all right. The next question, yeah. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. um, I can't really, I don't know why, I can't remember the exact phrase.
You can say it in your own words, it's fine.
So this is a quote by Sadhguru, which says, life is not outside you, you are life. So I think that has to be my favoriteest quote. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. It is very true. Huh? Life is not outside you, it's actually you. Yeah. Awesome. All right, the next one. If you could disinvent one thing, what would that be?
Disinvent. I think this.
Really?
Yeah. I think especially now, how
Yeah.
a lot of things, have changed. So I think this is one thing I would maybe make it disappear for a few days and come back when it was needed. Because
Right.
there's a lot of overuse and things have become a lot different because of
Yeah. True.
this
Very true.
machine that we carry around.
I don't think anyone thought, 40, 50 years ago that everyone would be having a device walking around and,
Yeah.
talking. Yeah.
When
Totally
I
agree.
watch, so I spend some time with my grandmom nowadays, and she's always watching me doing this, just completely engrossed in this. That she when she talks about how life was earlier, it's so beautiful. Like I look back and realize, wow, the way she lived life and how they would just spend time doing nothing most of the time, not sometimes playing something or just sitting outside. I think those are things at least I don't do anymore, but I try to make time for.
Yeah, totally. Treasured moments, I guess those are.
Yeah.
All right. So if you had to work and you did not need money for your self-sustenance, right, then what would you be doing for work?
Exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Cool. All right. So if you had to teach one particular topic, right, and teach it experientially, hands-on, what would that be?
Currently, it would be asana pranayama meditation.
Okay, it's kind of the need of the hour also,
Yeah, very
right now.
much. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
currently, yes.
Okay, awesome. Next question. Okay, so if you had the entire world's attention for 30 seconds, right? I know you talk about speaking and influencing people. So if this were actually a reality, what would you say to the world in 30 seconds?
I don't even need 30 seconds. I think a few seconds I would just say, um, be that change
Okay,
that the
awesome.
world needs.
Awesome. I guess that's a very powerful and very important sentence, right? Because if you can stand by what you preach, then there's nothing like it. Awesome. The last one. So, what's the best advice that you have received?
For me, it would be I think for me, a lot of times I've tried to define myself saying this is who I am. And people around me have told me that you don't have to be that stereotypical tag that you give yourself. So I think that's with a lot of different things. So when I try something new, I say, this is what I am. So that's how I've been wired, I would say. I say, okay, this is me, this is me. But people have made me realize that you don't have to be that, you don't have to fit into that stereotype. You can, like, for example, I would say one of the examples would be veganism. I'm sure you would relate to that as well. Like, people say, okay, this is how you have to be, this is how, this is how it should be. It's very rigid. That's what I also used to be like that. So I was very rigid as to, if this is what I do, this is only what I do. I would go by the rules of what this was meant to be. So I think that's one of the biggest something that's really changed me for me from somebody outside, when they told me that you don't really have to fit that tag. you can do a lot of different things. You can maybe try to be vegan. You don't have to follow that just for the sake of people being able to define you as that. So that's something that's really helped me a lot in terms of not trying to fit into that tag.
I think that's a very important thing that you said there, because just because you, for example, if you're talking about feminism, right? Just because you think that you're a feminist, even if you're internally not okay with certain things that are being projected by the feminist movement or whatever, you still sort of lie to yourself to believe it because you made that identity that you're a feminist.
Yeah.
Right. Same goes for veganism and any ism of sorts, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it just really constricts you because suddenly you have all of these rules that you have to really, really play by, right? And who makes these rules? Because you make them. Like you chose it, so you make them.
Very true.
So, yeah, totally. Like that was really nice. So yeah, I mean, I think we're here towards the end of the conversation, and just wanted to ask you, right? So if there's anything else that you want to share with us, especially now that we're working on our own curriculum and we're working with youth and trying to work on I wouldn't say trying to, but working on bringing experiential education to young minds, right? Uh, is there anything that you would like us to look at, read, think, or watch, or any guidance that you want us to point us to? I think that would be really nice if you could.
I think you're already doing so wonderful. At first, when I spoke to you about the whole concept, it's so beautiful how you're actually trying to bring about that change, because that's very important. I think everything starts there. So if you're trying to work on that, then you can change a lot of different things. So you're already on the right path. Just making this decision is huge. So I would just wish you all the very best.
Thanks.
And I'd always be there to support.
That means the world, because I think the first few people who really support you are the people who also motivate you to go on, right? So I'm really, really happy and grateful that, to have you in my life, because there have been, there's been that whole phase where I've really not interacted with people, right? And when I have reached out, these people have warmly embraced me, right? And the same with you. And I think that is something that has you know broken a lot of barriers for me, because I would never really reach out to people, but when I did, when so many people embraced me, it's made me feel very welcome. And that's also propelled me to take these decisions and to do these kind of things that I'm doing, right? Just knowing that I have a good support system. So thank you so much for being
I'm so happy. Thank you, Navita. This is a wonderful